أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is me again, Imam Luqman Ahmed. It was something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. I've written about it several times, but I really haven't expressed myself. And that is Islamophobia and how we deal with Islamophobia, how we understand Islamophobia, how we don't understand Islamophobia. Since 9/11, especially, we have become obsessed as a national community with Islamophobia. We're fighting against Islamophobia. We want to stop Islamophobia. We want to regulate Islamophobia. We want to destroy Islamophobia. We want to stop the Islamophobes. We want to stop people from practicing Islamophobia. And since 9/11, none of what we have done, none of the millions of dollars we put into this, none of the millions and millions of man and women hours that we put into this, none of the seminars, none of the PSAs, none of the photo ops and the meetings and the interfaith things that we do with the idea of curbing Islamophobia, none of that has worked because we're still saying that Islamophobia is as high as it ever was since the time of 9/11, and it hasn't worked. But there's a couple problems with this whole Islamophobia thing. Number one is the terminology itself, Islamophobia. We as Muslims, we have not accurately defined this term. And is it a legitimate term to begin with? This is a made-up term. Keep in mind that this doesn't appear in the Quran. This didn't appear in dictionaries. We came up with this term. We didn't. It was a think tank that came up with this term, actually. But this is a terminology that did not exist in our scripts, in our religious scriptures. But now it's become a number one priority. I have heard imams, I have heard presidents of national Muslim organizations say publicly, fighting Islamophobia is the number one concern of Muslims in America. Really? Have we been reduced to that? To fighting something that we have not even accurately defined? Now, let's look at the definition. Number one, Islamophobia. What does it mean? Do we all agree on what it means? Do you know what it means? Phobia means a fear of something. In a clinical sense, it means an unwarranted fear of something. So you have two possible meanings here. A fear of Islam, / and Muslims, I'll throw Muslim in there. Or an unwarranted fear of Islam and Muslims. Okay? So let's say, just take the fear of Islam. Fear of Islam. So everyone or anyone who has any sort of criticism, constructive or otherwise, or voice any dislike, any concern, any non-support, any antagonism towards Islam, the presence of Muslims in America, the presence of Islam in America, anyone who exhibits any of that, we automatically classify him as an Islamophobe. We call that Islamophobia. We call a wicked stare Islamophobia, without even knowing what the person is thinking. We don't distinguish between a person who is curious about Islam, a person who may be concerned about immigration, who may not be an Islamophobe, a person who is confused about Islam, like many of us are confused about Islam. Many of us are confused. No, the reason I was laughing is because we talk about people being confused about Islam when many of us are confused about Islam. That's why we use terms like Islamophobia as a catch-all phrase for anybody that has any issue with Islam or Muslims. We don't even use the word kufr anymore. There was a time we used the word kufr, disbelief, you're heretic. This person don't like Muslims because he's an unbeliever. We don't even use the unbeliever anymore. There's no such thing as an unbeliever as far as many of our national organizations and our public relations people are concerned. They don't even talk about unbelief no more. You're just you're either a pro-Muslim, or you are a friend, or ally, or you are an Islamophobe. That's how confused we are about this one terminology. In our history as Muslims, in our scholarly history, we explain things. Things are explained. The Quran itself is an explanation. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. The month of Ramadan in which the Quran was revealed, a guidance to the people and an explanation of the guidance and the criterion that we judge between a truth and falsehood. Our verses deal with explanation. Tafsir, exegesis, deals with explanation. Shuru' of hadith, explanation of hadith, deal with explanation. So we have all these terminology. Listen, you talk about salat, they deal with the meaning of salat. What is the lexical meaning of the salat? What is the classical meaning of salat as far as fiqh, as far as Islamic law, zakat, sadaqah? We deal with those things. We deal with the explanations of Allah's names. But now when it comes down to Islamophobia, it totally escapes any scholarly scrutiny about what the meaning of the terminology is itself. How do we define it? How do we define it? Yes, yet we make it a number one priority. There is a certain amount of insanity that's with that. There's a certain amount of dysfunction that comes with this sort of befuddled thinking. So we don't distinguish between a person who has nothing against Islam. He just has concerns about Muslim and Islam. He's an Islamophobe. We all put it in the same category, so we don't have to deal with it. Like we take all the evil, wrap it up, and we put it. That's what we do. This is just the kind of stuff that we're doing now. We're so obsessed with image. We're so obsessed with public relations in Islam that we are willing to sacrifice fahm, understanding. We're willing to sacrifice understanding for the sake of political expediency, and I'm telling you that is wrong. So, first of all, Islamophobia, we have not identified the term. We have not clarified the term. Because everybody who has a criticism of Muslims is not an Islamophobe. What about if the person criticizing Muslims is a Muslim? Is he, he Islamophobe? Am I an Islamophobe? I put criticisms out there. I put things out there for us to think about. I'm against Islam now? Some people will say that. Number two, it's not possible for Muslim Americans to make everybody like us. So where's the stopping point on Islamophobia? What's the threshold that we need to get to before we can say this is not a crisis? What would we have? 30% favorability rate, or which demographic? Until 30% of Americans like Muslims, then we have done enough to fight Islamophobia? Or is it 50%? Or do we have to get to 60%? Or do we have to get to 70%? Or do we have to get to 100%? That's why fighting Islamophobia is such a great issue to raise money on. Because there's no victory. There's no way you can win. There's no way you can make everybody love Muslims. There's no way you can make everybody not like Muslims or not like Islam, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it is He who has created you. وَمِنْكُمْ كَافِرٌ وَمِنْكُمْ مُؤْمِنٌ. And from amongst you are unbelievers, and from amongst you are believers. إِنَّ هَدَيْنَاهُ سَبِيلًا إِمَّا شَاكِرًا وَإِمَّا كَفُورًا. Allah says we have given mankind a path. Either he'll be grateful or he'll be ungrateful. So who are we? If prophets were not able to make everybody like them, what makes you think that we as Muslim Americans, because we're so educated, we got so much money, we're so slick, we're so smart, we're going to make the country like us? Everybody likes us. There are people who like Muslims and people who don't like Muslims. That's their right. But I'm saying that we become obsessed with image. So a lot of times when we say we're being oppressed, it's not that we are oppressed. Listen, I'm against oppression. Don't even think that I like to see anyone oppressed unjustly, Muslim or non-Muslim. I'm not for oppression, but many times when we say we're being oppressed, what we're really saying is our feelings are hurt. You're hurt by feelings. If somebody talks bad about Muslims, yes, it could lead to violence. It could. People talk about blacks all the time, and it does lead to violence in some cases. But that's not what our faith function is about, being so afraid of what might happen if somebody may take something a certain way, or to try to decipher what's in people's hearts, or to control what's in people's heart. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يُحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ وَأَنَّهُ إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. Allah says, know that it is a law that goes between a person and his own heart, and it is He that you shall all return to. So, we need to stop this madness, okay? We need to... We're so deep in it now. First of all, we need to just... slowly but surely discontinue the way we use the term Islamophobia. Stop calling everybody an Islamophobe. Stop calling any incidents of hatred against Muslims Islamophobia. If it's a crime, call it a crime. If it's transgression, call it transgression. If it's an assault, call it an assault. It could be because the person is just out their mind. If it's verbal disparagement, call it verbal disparagement. Do not take an ambiguous, nebulous term like Islamophobia and try to wrap any and all aggression, criticism, dislike, negative commentary about Muslims and wrap it all into a ball and throw it in that bucket. That makes it simple, but that's for simpletons. So that's my point for today. There's more I can say on it, but I just said enough for today. I want you to take a look at my book. You think this was a commercial? No, it wasn't, but I'm going to commercialize at the end of it. A new book called Double-Edged Slavery. It's about African-American Muslim moral dysfunction. It deals with some of those issues in this book, but it really deals with how indigenous Muslims in this country have become like a colony here. Our thinking, the way we look at the world, the way we look at our own country is influenced by outside forces who want us to think the way that they think. And I think that's not correct. I think that during these times, we should be able to think for ourselves according to Kitab, the book, the scripture, and the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The book is $14.95. It's available on Amazon.com, or there's a link. Many links on my Facebook pages and on my blog, imamlukman.wordpress.com. Hope you enjoyed the book, but think about what I said about Islamophobia. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.